I'm Sheridan and I'm here today with Michael Baker, who's the Chief Certification Officer for Australian Certified Organics, who are the certification subsidiary for Australian Organics, formerly BFA. So Michael, would you like to give us a brief explanation of ACO?
Sure, yeah. So Australian Certified Organic is the largest certifier in Australia. We certify over 2,000 organic operators, which includes producers, processors, input manufacturers, exporters, so it covers a wide range within the organic industry itself.
Okay, great. So can you tell me, first of all, we know that there's other certification bodies out there, so can you tell me why there are multiple certification bodies in Australia?
Sure, yeah, so under the, within Australia itself, there's 7 accredited DAF, which is the Department of Agriculture, accredited certifiers, and because they don't have the resources to actually offer the certification service, they subcontract that out to certification bodies. So it's not an exclusive agreement with one certification body. That's why there's several certification bodies within Australia.
Okay, so can you tell me who controls the certification bodies?
Yeah, so for export in Australia, it's by the Department of Agriculture. But I'm not sure if you're aware, but domestically in Australia, the wording organic is unregulated.
Oh, okay.
There is voluntary standards domestically, which assist in terms of mislabelling on product, which is through the ACCC, but essentially it is an open market domestically. And so that's one of the major differences between someone claiming something to be organic, which isn't independently verified, compared to a product which is certified organic, which is meeting the requirements of an organic standard.
Can you tell me how fail-safe the certification process is?
So in terms of the certification process that operators go through, it is quite rigorous. They submit application forms to us where we review their operation for compliance to meet the requirements of the standard. They are inspected annually, and we also conduct testing, and we also conduct unannounced inspections to ensure that they are meeting the requirements of the standards.
A number of products have a claim that they're organic, so they might have it in their packaging, for example, or their names might have the name might have the word organic in it, or it might have a portion of the word organic in it that can give people the impression they're an organic product. So, you know, what should people be doing, consumers be doing when they're buying products that may make these kind of claims?
There is a major difference between a product claiming to be organic and certified organic. The wording certified organic is regulated. It does need to meet the requirements of an organic standard, compared to a product which is just claiming organic. The consumer doesn't know that it really is meeting the requirements of any organic standard. So that consumers should always look for a recognised certification logo, such as the BUT logo.
Is it necessary for the package to also note the certification registration number of an individual company or organisation that's made the product?
So the certification number is very important on the BUT logo because it shows traceability, not just having the contact details on the labelling, but it also on our website, which is www.aco.net.au. You can actually search for certification numbers and it will actually come up with the manufacturer or the producer of the product.
Okay, that's good to know. Can you just give me a brief overview of the audit process?
Sure. So the audit process, which takes place annually for all our operators, it's a snapshot really of their operation, of how it's run, of how they're meeting the requirements of an organic standard. A lot of it covers record keeping, but then it varies quite a lot depending on the type of operation, from producer to processor and exporter.
Say, for example, I'm a farmer and I want to become certified. What are some of the sort of on-the-ground things, so to speak, that you look at in the farming operation?
Yeah, so all of our operations have had soil tests conducted So they need to have a soil test for any potentially contaminated sites, which the inspector would verify.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those tests relate to heavy metals, but also pesticide residuals within the soils. The inspector will go around the whole farm to view neighbouring activities, to verify neighbouring activities of higher input neighbours. You would need to have wider buffer zones in place to ensure that you're managing that risk for the potential of spray drift. Inspectors also verify what, if an organic farm actually uses farm inputs as well, so fertilisers, any pest and disease inputs that they may use, they also need to meet the requirements of the standard as well.
So there are certain pest control methods that are allowed in an organic farming situation?
Yeah, first and foremost they need to show how they're trying to prevent the cause of any pest or disease problems. Okay. But as a measure in place, if some of those mechanisms aren't working, then they are allowed to use a restricted number of inputs which will help control either some of those pests or diseases.
So for the processor, can you tell me a bit of what happens for the processor and the manufacturer when it comes to the audit situation?
They go through record keeping and traceability to show whatever raw materials they're purchasing, they're selling the same amount to ensure that they're not selling anything as non-organic, as organic. Yes. They will also conduct an inspection of the facility to ensure the cleaning materials that they're using, any pest control practices that they have in place are compliant under the organic standards.
At the wholesale level, how is in a repacking situation, for example, when a wholesaler repacks product that they buy from a manufacturer and puts their own label on it, how is that controlled? How do you ensure that what's going in that packaging is organic product?
When an audit is being conducted, they will be reviewing as a sample one product which has been sold and tracing it all the way back to actually receiving the raw materials for that product. And as part of their approved supplier program, they need to verify that any ingredients that they're purchasing meet the requirements of the organic standard, and that approved supplier program is inspected and reviewed at the audit.
So in certain situations, say with imported products, that are required, that Australian quarantine requires those products to be fumigated. For example, I know dried fruits, some pulses and legumes, nuts, things like that. When they come from certain countries, there's a fumigation requirement due to pests in those particular countries. Let's take an example of dried apricots from Turkey that would need to be fumigated on entry into Australia. Does that then mean that those dried apricots from Turkey could never be sold as organic product in Australia? Yeah,
that's correct. Essentially, methyl bromide is a very common treatment for fumigation through Australian quarantine, and methyl bromide isn't allowed under the organic requirements. So unfortunately, that organic product would lose its organic status and couldn't be sold as organic.
Right, okay. So is there an alternative that if for example, it was possible that they could be using an alternative form of fumigation?
Yeah, so normally my understanding of the Australian quarantine procedures is they will notify the operator that they do need to fumigate, and methyl bromide is the most common treatment that is used because Australian quarantine do view that as the most effective. An alternative to methyl bromide for organic production is carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm. So a number of organic operators do use carbon dioxide.
Yes, in fact, Kyala uses CO2 on the grains as a way of controlling pests. That's true. So, and so that's an effective fumigation process.
Yeah, that's one of the alternatives that's available compared to the use of methyl bromide.
Okay, so at the retail level, how does the audit process work when you have certified organic retail?
The inspector will be looking at again, their approved supplier program to ensuring where they're purchasing organic produce is from a certified source. The other side of it is verifying what products are labelled as organic in the store are certified organic.
So, for example, let's talk about the bulk bin situation in a lot of retail outlets. You know, you go in and you can buy rice or lentils or dried fruits, nuts in bulk. What are the requirements there when they make claims that those products are organic?
Yeah, so unfortunately at the moment there's only a small number of certified retailers. We are trying to increase the number of certified retailers. So if you're purchasing produce from a certified retailer, you can be assured that it is certified produce. Because the retailer is covered under a certification system, we verify that what produce they're claiming to be organic and selling in that store as organic really is certified.
So that would be part of their inspection process, that you check that
That's
the inputs
correct.
were organic. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what about in a fruit and vegetable situation, which is kind of similar? You have, I know for example in larger retail outlets like Coles and Woolworths, they seal their organic produce so that there's no cross-contamination. But in an organic retailer, dedicated organic retailer, where the fruit and vegetables are out on display and they're declared to be organic, how should they be labelled so that you can be sure that you're getting, again, it's a similar situation, you can be sure that you're getting organic produce?
Yeah, so in terms of in certified organic retailers, a large number of them will actually have separated either benches or areas so that they differentiate between their chemical and pesticide free and their certified organic produce, so that it minimises the risk of any commingling. Otherwise, if it is on say one bench for example, they need clear segregation methods in place to ensure that the produce isn't commingled.
Okay, so when it comes to the audits, how often, I think you mentioned that audits generally happen annually. Do people know when their audits are going to happen? Do they get advance warning that it's coming up time?
Yeah, so every operator is audited annually. Some operators are actually audited 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, okay.
The reason for that is they will have their annual inspection where they do have notice, but we also conduct unannounced inspections. Unannounced inspections will either be based on an investigation we're conducting from information being provided, otherwise they will be randomly chosen.
Be a situation, a surprise audit could happen that someone might have a suspicion about how the retailer, for example, or the manufacturer is behaving, and that would be cause then for you to conduct a surprise audit?
Legally, we only have the right to conduct inspections on our own operators. So essentially, as part of that process, they may have a very small amount of time notified that we're coming. Otherwise, if it's a serious allegation, we will be showing up on the day with no notice.
So if someone comes up non-compliant, what's the next step in that sort of situation? Are they immediately decertified, or do you give them a chance to make good? How does that work?
Yeah, obviously, depending on the non-compliance and the severity of the non-compliance, if it relates to the integrity of the organic produce, then it would be taken very seriously and they may be suspended on the spot. In terms of non-compliances, they do range from major to minor, so just depending on what the issue is, operators will be provided a chance to make a corrective action to that to the non-compliance.
So in a situation where a company has come up non-compliant and perhaps they're decertified, is this publicised in any way so that the public can then know? Yeah,
so in our procedures we actually notify industry regarding any suspensions or decertifications, and all that information is also put up on our website.
Oh, okay. So we can just go to the ACO website?
Yeah, www.aco.net.au.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Michael, today for your time and for answering all those questions so thoroughly for us and filling in all those gaps. So
that's all right. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.